And welcome back to my channel where I talk about things. I'm going to talk about Bitcoin now and the old Bitcoin chart and what it's doing right now on this Black Friday. I hope you're having a fantabulous, fantastic, and wonderful Black Friday. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. You're having a happy, prosperous, healthy, and fun and free Black Friday. And whatever you're doing, I hope you're doing good things. So, what is Bitcoin doing? Well, Bitcoin had a very nice Thanksgiving. In case you weren't around to trade it, it did, in fact, devour the Thanksgiving feasts of people who were over leveraged into wrong sided positions. Basically, it moved along very nicely, tested the central daily range very nicely and ended the day just above the central daily range. And today has formed a new central daily range that is so tight. Yeah, I mean, it's really tight. It is 0.01% of the asset's value, and it sits literally right underneath the center of the weekly range of the VRE. And it has been tested during the first hour and a half of the day or so, and again has just been tested now. It's roughly 3 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time, 10 o'clock where I am. And yeah, it has tested that central daily range 6 times on 6 different candles on the 15-minute time frame so far today. I mean, when it's such a tight daily range, any candle will basically test the whole thing on the 15-minute. It is, I mean, literally, what is the size of that thing? If I expand it out, let me tell you the range. Hold on, it's incredibly tight. So you got to zoom in quite a bit to look. The grand total of this thing is a whopping. What is that? Is that real? Is that real? Yeah, it's a $7, $7.68. Um, that is just incredible. So the bottom of the central daily range is like 95.670, and the top of it is at 95.677K. So yeah, it's literally a $7 range on a $95,600 asset. So incredibly tight daily range. What does that mean? That means it is most probably a trending day. And we've seen so far on the day a nice little trending move to the upside starting about an hour, hour and a half after the beginning of the daily candle. And you can see that very clearly on the VRE charts. If you're not familiar with the VRE charts, I highly recommend you go to the Alpha Trading Discord over at alphatradinghq.com/discord. Click on the support request or request support channel. And then there you click on the create a ticket button. And then in there you just say you want the volatility starter pack of indicators. You'll get all the volatility starter indicators, which do not include the VRE, but at least once you're in there, you can start to learn about the volatility, probability, and statistics indicators that we give you for free. Give you the basics, and you can watch us cover the VRE charts any given day on Bitcoin and a whole bunch of other assets, SPY, gold, Dixie, some other cryptos like Solana or Litecoin or whatever we happen to be looking at that day or whatever anybody requests that we look at, we'll look at. So yeah, what is Bitcoin doing? It is moving along very nicely. It right now it just dropped through the 1110 RMLR 2 candles ago and is distributing away from it after a mean reverting to it a couple candles ago. The 3012 RMLR, the 3012 RMLR is also above the 30 power mean on the smoothing length 10. There was an intersect of that power mean and the 1110 RMLR, and that was 5 candles ago. So yeah, it made a very nice move relative to the time frame, down almost 2/3, or a little bit more than 2/3 of a point since then. So that's nice. In terms of scalping, the asset is currently on a random walk on the 15-minute time frame. It's starting to expand. Entropy is starting to expand. It is negatively correlated, and that negative correlation is expanding and increasing. So that is why we saw prices drop. We also saw the variance rising on negative correlation, which explains again why the prices were dropping. And now we're seeing the variance turn around, it's beginning to contract. There's a little bit of positive correlation at the moment. It's minor, and that's why I'm seeing the prices actually, for now, finding a little bit of buy pressure at that central daily range and going a little bit above the central weekly range, but it is just above it for now. And like as always, if the variance continues to drop on positive correlation, then it is very typical to see the prices fall to the downside. But of course, that'll depend on the returns oscillator too. And if you look at the returns oscillator right now on the 15-minute, it is rising just under the mean, and the correlation is negative, although it is sloping upwards. So that explains also why you're seeing, because they're both negative and they're both rising, and that is why you're seeing at the moment the prices finding a little bit of buy pressure there. But again, if you see that turning around now, it certainly could drop. On the bigger picture of the day, the daily candle remains near the very top of the power mean ribbon. It's just under the top power mean ribbon there, and it is looking like at the moment a day with variance contracting on negative correlation sloping down, and the AVRs are looking like they are indicating flat, down, and flat. Basically, they're indicating a day of good scalp information, actually, because the daily candle is giving you an indication. The short length is contracting on negative correlation that is beginning to rise, so that is indicating down. The middle length, the 981, is contracting as well on rising correlation that is just negative, just under the mean. So again, looking down, pretty flat, but looking down. And the long length is going sideways on also negative correlation that is just rising a little bit. It is so, yeah, exactly. So as I said, overall, you're not seeing a lot of heavy indications to the upside on the volatility at the moment. Of course, that can change throughout the day. Daily candle is a very long time in terms of scalping, right? Because there's 1,440 minutes during a day, so a lot can happen during a daily candle. That's why low time frame traders look at low time frames, 15-minute or under. 15-minute is a great monitor for your intraday, and obviously you can see a lot going on in the 15-minute. The VRE, like I said, super tight, 0.01% of the asset's value, so that is very tight. And at the moment, we are seeing also on the daily candle, once again yesterday and so far again today, the asset remains in mean reversion to the 3012 RMLR. It has been in mean reversion to it since November 13th. Well, since the 14th technically, because that was after 2 days had passed when it had not hit the 3012 RMLR third band to the upside. And so it's been in mean reversion since the 14th of November, which is just over 2 weeks ago, 15 days now. It came really close 2 days ago, and it came pretty close yesterday, like both times within $1,000. And so far again today, it has come to within about $1,400 or so. The RMLR currently on the day is at around $94,072. So if it mean reverts to that area, that will be, if it completes the mean reversion, it'll drop to that area to complete that mean reversion. If it does not go there today, then the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, it will be dropping. Most likely, the RMLR will be dropping, right? That'll be the direction of the RMLR is dropping. 5 days out on around Wednesday, it'll be down at around 89.6, depending on how they paint between now and then, but roughly for now. So in the 89 area, maybe as low as 87, maybe as high as 90. It depends. It depends on the repaint lines, and of course, if the repaints actually change direction, which is rare, but it does happen. After that point, it will be rising again, swiftly to the 96K area and then the 100K area by around the 10th of December. So it'll be like at around 98K on the 9th, and it'll be at 1019 roughly there on the 10th of December. Again, if those lines, don't resize until then, but the direction will still be likely in the direction that it currently is saying. And then it'll just be rising for a good while until Christmas, or even after, like the 29th of December, pretty much rising. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days between now and the 29th of December, starting from the 10th. So and even from the 9th, or when does it begin to rise? It begins to rise on the 4th of December after this drop, and just continues to rise with, between the 4th of December and the 29th of December, except for those 8 little days that I mentioned. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days and 8 days. 8 days total until the 29th of December. Other than that, it'll be rising the whole time. So we could see the mean reversion anywhere between, right now, where it is, down to around 89K or maybe lower if it drops over the next 5 days, and all the way up to the high of around 120K, which would be the 22nd of December in that area, if it maintains that area. We'll see. But obviously that's a very high time frame and a very big distance away. And what does it say? Can you check Echelon Prime when it will go up again? I will check Echelon Prime. I don't even know what the ticker symbol is on that. Let me have a quick look on Echelon Prime. Is it new? I don't know what that is, but I'll look it up. Oh, Echelon Prime US dollar. Here we go on Coinbase. How old is this thing? Pardon me for not knowing what this. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, it's relatively new. It came out in March of last year, or at least it's launched on Coinbase in March of last year. At the moment, on the monthly, it is looking very nice. It's up 57% on the month. That's really nice. Let's have a quick look over here on the daily. Okay, it mean reverted to the 1110 RMLR back on the 25th of November and rose above it very nicely. Let's see, currently indicators saying it's starting to switch to the downside. And mid-length volatility is also seeing the downside. The returns on Echelon are looking to the downside today so far on the ALR. If you look at that, you can see that very clearly. You can see also that it is beneath the 99.7 Laplace distribution on the projection boss 2 arc that was set on the 5th of November when it began to rise neatly from the local low there that it had on the 3rd of November. So let's see here. We see also Echelon. Let me just take a quick look and give you the VRE read on it. Hang on a second. Let me switch over to this one. Echelon Prime USD. Wow. Okay, having a nice little discount there on the day so far. It has had a distribution down past the 3rd standard deviation band of the 3012 RMLR, and it has now passed 2 candles in a row. It's in fact passed 3 candles in a row where it did not hit that band. So it is likely to mean revert. It is likely in a mean reversion already to the 12 RMLR, which is currently up at around 1165. So yeah, it's looks like it's in mean reversion to that 3012 RMLR. Of course, it doesn't mean that it has to go up to it, but it means that the 3rd band down, currently at 1074, is not likely to get hit before it actually completes the mean reversion. So it'll follow along this mean reversion line, this RMLR line, and complete the mean reversion before it hits that 3rd band to the downside. Which, hang on, maybe I can. Well, never mind. What's to say here? Went up, then down again today. Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, you're talking about volatile assets. They always go up and down. Do you know why? Well, they go up and down because what does price do? It follows the returns. It's a, what's that say? It's a combination of AI and gaming. Oh, okay, cool. Good to know. So yeah, when you have volatile assets like this, do not be surprised to see them mean revert and distribute very quickly. Right? That's, I mean, especially on volatile assets. That's the whole point of trading crypto, is that they are very volatile. It's a lot of fun if you know what you're doing, and you can make some very nice gains. The thing is, you got to make sure you are not over leveraged into bad positions or into any positions, right? You just shouldn't over leverage at all. In my opinion, you shouldn't use leverage, especially when you're on an asset that's this cheap relatively. I mean, at $11.15, you really shouldn't be using leverage. You should just be stacking up as many units of it as you can and using that as your quote unquote leverage, right? Be your own leverage provider, be your own market maker, right? Don't borrow money from the exchanges that are literally trading against you, and they are trading against you, right? Especially, like BBook exchanges, they're openly trading against you. They're not, there's no regulation there to block them from doing it. And even ABook exchanges, who may not be blocking trading against you directly, they still sell that information to whales and to large HFT firms and whoever else has the money to pay for order flow information and other info that you don't get access to at the same speed that they get access to it, because they have faster connections and they pay for the privilege of getting that information a little bit ahead of you. So yeah, right now the asset is falling, is contracting on variance with positive correlation. So no surprise there. While the asset has been dropping down. It is currently in a trending move, and the direction predictor is saying it is looking to the upside. But that said, you got to keep in mind the negative correlation on that entropy is actually increasing and expanding. So I'd be real careful there because, like I said, it does not have to complete the move to the upside necessarily. But that said, it is very likely in mean reversion to the 1110 RMLR, although did not technically hit the third band down. Came real close once and pretty close the second time. Right now, the 1110 RMLR is up at 1144, but it could still drop down further, and not likely to hit that 1110 band, though, because at the moment the 1110 band is well below the 3012 third band down, which means it's likely to complete that mean reversion to the 1110 and then complete the mean reversion to the 3012 RMLR at some point today, throughout the day. We'll see when that actually happens. But yeah, for now, it looks set to, what's going on here? Let me just double check here. Well, why is there a skip there? No, there isn't. Good. Okay, good. So yeah, by the time we start our live stream over on Alpha Trading at 9 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we do that in our Discord. It relays or it goes up in real time on Rumble or whatever, but it's basically we do those in Discord for people in the Discord, and it's an educational live stream, so you can see all the analysis with the charts and everything else. Unlike here, where I'm just talking to you and the charts are in the background, and you can't see them unless I switch the camera around. But yeah, right now it is moving through. Hang on, let me just see this thing. Why is it not? Let me see if I can load this thing up on the DRE chart, because at the moment it's taking a long time to show me that chart. I don't know why. TV Trading View is being very slow. Okay, that's all right. Probably has something to do with all the other things happening on these servers that I'm using. But overall, yeah, it's looking, definitely scalpable if you are a scalper. If you trade, under the 15-minute time frames, or even the 15-minute time frame up to that. If you trade those speeds. Personally, I like to trade down in the 1 minute, just because I'm usually interrupted quite a lot from different things happening in the real world. But yeah, I would be very careful trading something like this. Make sure it has the volatility, the liquidity that you need. It is on Coinbase, so obviously it has some liquidity. They're not going to Well, they do put in. They do have many more coins now that are less liquid than the top rock stars of crypto, but they typically still, they don't have like 10 million coins on there like some exchanges, or many thousands of coins. They just have, a fairly decent amount of coins available. If you happen to be trading it on Coinbase, just make sure, as always, to take your profits early and often, to limit your loss, and to not be emotionally attached to your trades, right? Those are the three basic rules of trading. And of course, the number one thing when it comes to calculating and measuring your edge is, number one, make sure you're using risk management correctly, right? Make sure you have a good risk management. Don't put capital on the table that you can't afford to lose. And that includes using leverage, right? Like I said, this is such a cheap asset. I mean, relatively, $11.40. There's no need for an asset. And what does it say here? It's my first bull run. How much can I expect my money to grow investing in? I don't know what that is. SUL, LCP, and Prime. If you mean Solana, it's SOL. Oh, ICP, Internet Computer, and Prime. Well, again, look, macro projections. I can show you macro projections, and I can show you the probabilities of upsides and downsides, but high time frames is not what I do as a trader. Like, it's just to get an idea. SUI is the next Solana. Okay, well, all right, if you say so. I don't know it. I'm not familiar with it. I could look into it, I guess, a little bit. Maybe talk about it in the next time frame, a live stream. But it doesn't matter what the coin is, right? First of all, the concept of bull runs and bear markets is really misleading. Okay, first of all, if you look at Bitcoin, for example, or crypto in general, it's been in a quote unquote, bull run, if you want to call it that, since January 1st, 2023, right? It's gone up massively since then, right? It was down at around like $15,000 Bitcoin was in January 2023. Now it's at like 95,000, right? That's a pretty significant bull run, if you want to call it that. And yeah, it went sideways for, many months this year after the high in March, until, October, when it started to move up again a little. And it went, or even September, depends on how you look at it, but it did not finish September. Like, people making macro forecasts tend to be wrong. Okay. Why? Because there's no way for you to know exactly what's going to happen 45 days out, 60 days out, 90 days out, 120 days, half a year or two. You can know, generally speaking, by looking at things like the returns. For example, Bitcoin obviously has delivered insane returns since it was first launched and traded back in 2009. It's delivered over 14 billion% returns from the lowest to the highest. That's insane. Like, no other asset's ever done that, right? And certainly it hasn't. No other asset's ever done that, and also consistently been increasing in its returns over time like that. Now you could say, well, SPX has been going very nicely. Yeah, but SPX since like 2009 has gone up like 1,200%, not 14 billion, like 1,200, right? And gold's gone up about what, 250%. So that's why high projection high time frames are good for knowing what's going on in the big picture. They're super important because what happens on the high time frames obviously has a lot of gravitas, a lot of weight. Excuse me, I'm coughing here. Kind of a bit of a cough here. But what happens on the low time frames is where the changes actually happen, which is why traders look at low time frames. Investors, tend to look more at high time frames and say, okay, it looks generally like a good place to buy now. You should still look at the VEPS information for the high time frames because it gives you the probabilities and statistics that you just don't get with traditional TA, right? That traditional TA is all built on price, which means it's built on lagging information because price is lagging information. Price, like I said, just follows the returns. The returns, the volatility, the entropy, variance, returns oscillator, those things are all leading information. The RMLR, leading information. The projection boss, leading information, right? All that stuff is leading information. Because why do we do that at Alpha Trading? We built everything on returns. We built everything on volatility and entropy. because that's where you get the leading information, which is the same information that is used by the high frequency trading firms, or also known as HFT firms, right? Like Citadel, right, for example, or the people at BlackRock who do trading, who use also the same kind of systems, or quant shops like D.E. Shaw, right, and others. They use leading information because that is the statistically most provable way to know what is probably going to happen on this candle and the next candle, and however many candles out that you care to look. Right, it's all in the probabilities, right? And there are always probabilities going up, going down, and going sideways. There are always probabilities up, down, and sideways. Like, don't get it mixed up in your head to think, oh, this can only go up now because it reached some imaginary low on a stochastic indicator or an EMA or a RSI. Those are all garbage indicators, in my opinion, because they're using lagging information, and we can demonstrate that. What's this say here? Yeah, so it's your first bull run. So how much can you expect it to go up? Look, it's not about how much you can expect it to go up, right? I mean, if you're an investor and you're just buying and holding, it works like this. If you happen to have a huge stack, okay, if you have a very big bag, like many millions of dollars, and you have a financial planner or a financial advisor, a certified financial advisor or a certified financial planner that you work with, then they will usually tell you it is better to put a big buy on something and just hold it over time. And if you don't have a very big stack and you have, you're like a retail investor, you don't have many millions of dollars, you're not a, certified investor or, verified investor with many millions of dollars in your portfolio. If you're a retail investor, then DCA has proven to be the best way, quote unquote, best way to invest long term. DCA, dollar cost averaging, right? Which basically means buy a certain amount. Maybe it's $10 a week, $20 a week, $50 a week, $100, $500, whatever your number is, $1,000 a week. It doesn't matter. Whatever your number is, you consistently buy that amount, and it should only be an amount that you can absolutely afford to invest, which means a number you can afford to lose. Okay, because as they always say, there's always the probability it could go to zero, right? So you can only invest money you can actually, like, it's like money you could burn, and you're not going to lose your lunch over it. You're not going to lose sleep over it. You're not going to have problems paying your bills, your rent, your utility, your mortgage, your car, your school, your kids' school bills, your food bill, anything, your toilet paper, right? Whatever it is, your vices, your hobbies, you don't want to burn any of that money. Investment money is money that you would otherwise not use, that you would, quote unquote, save at the end of the month after you've done all your expenses, right? So if you earn, like, I don't know, 10 grand a month, okay, just a round number, okay, and it costs you, $7,000 to live and pay all your bills or whatever, and you have 3 grand left at the end of the month, do you invest all of it? Well, some people would say yes, you invest all of it in different things that earn you dividends, for example, right? Dividends are a, quote, safe way to make passive income over time if you invest in certain stocks that pay dividends. But of course, in crypto, you don't get dividends, right? You can earn yield. You can earn staking returns if you stake your various crypto. Like if you invest in wrapped Bitcoin, if you buy some wrapped Bitcoin, you basically lock it, you're staking it for a certain period of time, and you earn rewards. Basically, you earn more wrapped Bitcoin, which is pegged 1-to-1 with Bitcoin over time. And how do they do that? Well, they keep buying more Bitcoin. That's how they do that. All right. But is that, does that guarantee that you'll make money over a year, 5 years, 10 years? No, it doesn't guarantee it. But if you look at the history of Bitcoin so far, it's gone up very nicely for, the last 15 years, almost 16 years since it was launched. It was launched in January 2009. The white paper came out in October 31st, 2008. It took a couple months to turn the network on. And once it went on in January 2009, since then, it's been, it was trading as a barter at first, and then eventually within, at some point in 2009, it started trading on some little exchanges here and there. Boy, those are good times. It's, you can't, so since then it has had 15 good, it has had 15 years of solid trading. Yes, it's had down years. Absolutely. It's had massive pullbacks, right? Look, from the high of 2021, it fell down like more than 80%. Got down, it was like at 69K, almost 70K. It came down to like 15K by November 2022. That's a significant pullback, right? The same thing it did, by the way, at the end of 2017. It came down from like almost 20 grand all the way down to like $3,200 in December of 2018, like a year to the day, right? It fell all the way down. Massive move to the downside, but that was just an opportunity to buy more cheap relatively and to go back up, which if you bought at that time, it went up significantly since it more than doubled in price in 2019. And then in 2020, went up to like almost 10 grand and then plummeted down, or went up to around 10 grand, even more, and then plummeted down to like 3,800 again on, when there was that big thing that happened that everybody had to stay in their houses and stuff like that. You remember what that was, right? There was that period of time when people couldn't go outside and they had to wear these pieces of cloth in front of their face and all that stuff. So on that day, by the way, that massive drop was not sparked by that. You could look at the VRE charts, you could look at the volatility, you can look at the RMLRs. That move to the downside was in play several days before the scare happened, right? Before the panic happened, before the big drop happened. So it was already moving to the downside, and it was just mean reverting is really all it did. And then it plummeted past, distributed to the downside, and then people who were, those of us who bought at the bottom or near it, yay, we got a good deal on some cheap Bitcoin and have watched it rise like, very nicely since then. And then again in September of that year, it was down at around, it was under 10K again, like it had gone up very nicely from March until June, July. Then in August, September, it started to drop a little bit. And then boom, it shot up past 10K and has not gone down to that level since then. And it made that run up initially to like 64, 65K, whatever it was. And whatever that was in 2020, the end of 2020, no, the beginning of 2021. And then from there, it dropped nicely in the summer, like around June, July. It was in the lows around 35, 38, I think, something like that. And then started to climb back up from July, August of 2021 up to like November of 2021. And then again, fell for an entire year once it had gone up to like that 69K area. It hit 70 on some exchanges, but whatever, like basically the 69 and change area. Came down for an entire year all the way down to 15K. So right now, if Bitcoin goes up, I mean, look, projection wise, if you want to know super high, insane time frames, just to give you a sense of it, okay? For example, if I put Echelon, I can't even do a projection on the monthly. It's not even that old. I mean, on this thing, just to give you a sense of where it might be, okay? Insane numbers. If it were to go up to the third band to the upside of the RMLR, anytime between now and June of 2025 on the weekly projections of the RMLR, on the 3012 RMLR's third band to the upside, it could be above $200. It could get as high as $220, $225 easily. Okay, 237 even, and that could even happen, by the way, in December of this year. But is it likely to go all the way up to that third band to the upside? I wouldn't lose sleep over it, man. I wouldn't lose sleep over it. However, I will say this, okay? Echelon Prime is climbing right now back up. It is over the 30 power mean, smoothing length 10, which has just flipped to the upside on this candle, like indicating to the upside, even though it's still sloping down a little bit. It is, in fact, saying it's going to the upside. It's intersecting with the 1110 RMLR right now, like this week, which means there is likely to be a nice move relative to the time frame, okay? And the weekly candle, you got some serious nice moves on this thing, 48%, 17%, 11%, 5% even. There's no shortage of very nice moves that it can make between 0 to 4 candles from now, meaning this week or 4 more candles. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. We're talking by the 23rd of December. Between now and the week of the 23rd of December, which ends on the 30th of December or the 29th, whatever, it could have some very nice moves. I mean, it could have some really nice moves. I don't want to make it sound crazy here, but that RMLR is up in the $40 range. It's like $45, $44, $45 range by then. Even higher, $46.97 a couple of weeks from now. Again, I'm not going to say it's going to go up to $47, but there are probabilities that show that it could go up to there. And if it did go up to there and then fell back below for a couple of candles, it would very likely be in mean reversion back down to the RMLR, right? And currently that RMLR is just below where the asset is at $10.75 or something like that. Or no, sorry, it's at $9.95. Sorry, it's at $9.95. But again, that power mean and that RMLR are intersecting on this candle. So there's a very high probability that there's going to be a decent sized move between now and 0 to 4 candles from this week. And we're a little bit more than halfway through this week. We're like 5 days into it. So there's still today, tomorrow, and Sunday to complete the week. And then you got 4 more weeks worth of action there. But again, those are very high time frames. And as I said, I don't trade weekly time frame. I just look at this for the big picture. Now, is there another mean? Wow, there is actually. Let me just double check something here because I don't want to be. Yeah, there is actually a mean reversion in progress since quite a while, actually, since technically like the 8th of July to the 3012 RMLR. And the 3012 RMLR is currently up at around $17.20, roughly there, $17.12. Okay, that's where that 3012 RMLR is. It is in mean reversion to that RMLR since several months. Is there a probability it goes up there from where it is? Yeah, absolutely. It could go there either this week or it could touch that RMLR maybe next week down at around 1390, 1370, somewhere in there. If not, it can climb back up to that $17 and whatever area. And if not, it could just continue to go sideways and meet it maybe around where it is now. But the probability of not having a nice move between now and 0 to 4 weeks from now is very small. Okay, you've got, like I said, an intersect of that 30 power mean and of the 1110 RMLR. So significant probability that you're going to see a nice move between now and then. So yeah, I mean, not financial advice as they say, but probability information. This definitely is. You have very significant probabilities of seeing the mean reversion complete. Now, if it were to go up to the 3012 RMLR this week, that would be beyond the third normal distribution, beyond the 99.7% normal distribution. So it could shoot up there and wick back down. That normal distribution is at like $15.17. It could close above it, but it's got like, it is a 99.7% probability it will not close above that. But it is below the 99.7 Laplace distribution band, which is at $18.85 currently on this weekly candle. So yeah, a mean reversion to the $17.20 area or so is entirely probable. Like, there definitely is a probability. Now, that said, it has already reached the second probability, the 95.5% probability to the upside on the Laplace distribution, which was up at 1233. So is it necessarily going to go there again? Yeah, I wouldn't lose sleep on this thing, man. I really, really, really would not. But let's just see if I can put this on daily real quick. Okay, yeah, variance on the daily is contracting, positively correlated. So price action to the downside to be expected. Currently, it is dropping. In fact, wow, it's down 7.5% on the day. The direction predictor on the daily is to the downside. You are still in a trending move after the nice little move up we had. Right now, the direction predictor on it is to the downside. You do have expanding correlation that's positive, but it's decreasing in its strength or significance. Okay, it's not strength because it's just a digital pixel, but it's significance. Okay, so the correlation is decreasing in significance, but it is expanding. And again, the entropy is beginning to slope back up towards the mean from where it was on the last candle when it hit the third standard deviation band to the upside. or just under it. So there was a 99.7% probability it wouldn't expand past it, and it did not. And it's still above the second standard deviation, which is, again, a 95.5% probability that it won't close the entropy past that point today. But at the moment, it still is on there on the day. And on the daily, again, like I said, it's well above that 1110 RMLR, right? And well, it would be even more above the power mean and even more above the 3012 RMLR. But it is not in mean reversion to them at the moment, necessarily. It could mean revert to them, but it's not necessarily mean reversion, meaning it has not hit an outer limit third standard deviation band a number of times since mean reverting to both of those indicators, to both of those levels. So it is still basically in distribution. Now, could it mean revert? Yeah, it could absolutely mean revert to one of those RMLRs and maybe from there bounce up. But, as I mentioned on the weekly's looking good, man. Weekly's looking good. Anyway, on Bitcoin, let me just go back to that. You know what? No, even before we go to Bitcoin, let me see if I have this one here. Litecoin. Okay, Litecoin daily. Litecoin daily actually looking very similar to Bitcoin in terms of the volatility, the entropy. The entropy is starting to fade out of the trending move, but the direction predictor is to the upside. Volatility is very mixed. You do have variance also contracting on negative correlation. It's not significant negative correlation, but it is negative correlation and it's sloping down. The returns oscillator is negative, kind of flat, but still sloping down a little, and it's on positive correlation. So would not be surprised to see this thing dip a little. And all in all, Litecoin actually looking great for scalps, because when you got it moving like this, it's winding up for a move. It is, again, above the power mean. So it has been above that power mean since it has not closed the day inside of the power mean since November 9th. Okay, it's wicked down and touched the very top or stabbed in one or two power mean lines once or twice since then, but has not closed a daily candle inside of the power mean ribbon. Currently, the top of that power mean ribbon is around $93.44. The reverse wave trends at $79.81. And the Fisher transform lines are $65.61. So it is moving up very nicely. And as I always say, Litecoin is just an amazing coin. When you think, like, if you like Bitcoin, I don't understand. If you like Bitcoin and you don't love Litecoin, I don't get it, because Litecoin is literally the same code as Bitcoin. In fact, it gets the code that goes into Bitcoin before it goes into Bitcoin, right? Litecoin is basically the test bed for Bitcoin. And Litecoin only has a max supply cap of 84 million coins, which is only 4 times as many as the max supply cap of Bitcoin, which is at 21 million, right? So every time you get a blockchain reward on Litecoin, if you're a miner, you get 4 times as many as you do Bitcoins, because that's the halving cycle and the speed of the blockchain rewards, right? Because it's 4 times the cap, and it's the same code, it's the same halving cycle. So Litecoin, I mean, just think about this. $95.75 right now is the price on Litecoin. 95,959. So you can get like 1,000 Litecoin for 1 Bitcoin. And there's only 4 times as many Litecoin as there are Bitcoin. I don't know what to tell you. Also, it's distributed technologically just as well as Bitcoin is, because practically every miner that mines Bitcoin also mines Litecoin, because why not, right? It's the same technology, it's the same software, it's the same everything. Why wouldn't you mine Litecoin if you also mine Bitcoin? And people who, the exchanges that sell or buy Bitcoin also buy and sell Litecoin, right? Find me a good exchange that doesn't have Litecoin on it. Doesn't exist. Doesn't happen. Why? Because Litecoin is the OG of the altcoins, right? That's the one, right? It is the Bitcoin fork of consequence. And it's run, it's a decentralized cryptocurrency, has all the same qualities as Bitcoin. It's divisible, scalable, immutable, portable, all the good things, right? Uncensorable, what do you want to call it? All the good things you can do with Bitcoin, you can do with Litecoin. Ordinals, yeah, sure, no problem. Runes, no problem. You can, all that same tech that runs on Bitcoin, you can run on Litecoin, right? All the same everything. The difference is that the big money prefers Bitcoin at the moment, because that's why they're buying it up, right? They want to own the market. Well, they already own the market. 95% of all the Bitcoin that there can ever be is already in the hands of wallets that have 100 or more Bitcoin in them. Guess what? That doesn't, Satoshi's wallets only had 50 Bitcoins per wallet, because he or she or it or they, every time Satoshi earned a block reward, Satoshi would have that reward go into a new wallet. And so every single block reward was fed into a separate wallet of 50 Bitcoin. So if you look at most of Satoshi's wallets, they're all 50 Bitcoin. There's a few that have less, because he would use those wallets to send, some Bitcoins to people or whatever for stuff. But most of them, like 99.9999% of them, have 50 Bitcoins per wallet. So technically, his wallets are not counted in the 100 plus wallets, right? 100 plus Bitcoins per wallets. But they are counted as part of the 95%, because his 1.1 or 1 million Bitcoins that he holds is counted as part of the overall 91% of the biggest whales who have 1,000 or more Bitcoins per wallet. His Bitcoins are counted in that, even though he doesn't have 1,000 in any of his wallets. Again, I say he just referentially. But yeah, so 91% of all Bitcoins that can ever be are in wallets that have 1,000 or more Bitcoins and Satoshi's Bitcoins. 95% are in wallets that have 100 or more Bitcoins. And again, including Satoshi's Bitcoins. That's 95% of all the 21 million. That's so more than 95% of the 19.7 or 19.8 million that have already been mined. Okay. So there's only like another million and change to mine. There's like 5% left to mine, right? 5.5% left to mine. That means that, and so if there's like 5.5% left to mine, and almost 90, and 95% of all that there can ever be is already in the hands, right? That means there's about 1%, because like there's 5.5% or 5% left to mine. There's like 1% in the hands of everyone else on Earth that actually has any Bitcoin, and not in the hands of the 8 billion people who don't have any Bitcoin. Think about that, right? So the entire world that wants Bitcoin is fighting over 1% of all the Bitcoin that there can ever be. That's insane. So the wealthy already own Bitcoin, and they're not going to sell, right? We're talking about, MicroStrategy, BlackRock, massive whales. Even Michael Saylor, has tens of thousands of Bitcoin himself. Plenty of huge whales have tens of thousands. The Gemini brothers, they bought like a couple 100,000 Bitcoin when it was like, what was it, like $10, something like that? Like back in like, what was it, 2013, I think, 2012, whatever it was. They bought like a couple 100,000. Do you think really that Gemini hasn't bought? You think the Winklevi, as they're known? You think the Winklevi haven't bought any Bitcoin since it was at $10? If they bought 200,000 at $10, we're talking about dudes who were very wealthy before, right? These are the guys who got their big payout from Facebook, and oh, by the way, they were wealthy before that too. Okay, they're not poor kids. Okay? They didn't grow up poor, right? Do you think those guys, if they were so into Bitcoin in 2013 and they set up the Gemini exchange, which they make bank on from all the Bitcoin fees and everything else they win on every trade, you think they haven't bought any more Bitcoin since 2013? No, they definitely have more than 200,000 Bitcoin. I mean, if they don't, I'd be shocked, right? They definitely have more than 200,000 Bitcoin. You think they didn't buy it when it was $20 or $30, $100, $1,000? Really? You don't think they bought it? When it fell all the way back from 20 down to 3, you don't think they bought any on the way down at 6K? You don't think they got any at $3,000? You don't think they got any more on the way from $3,000 to 70, and then from 70 back down to 15, and then from 15 back up to 99.6 or 99.8, wherever it reached last week? Really? They definitely do. So like Kraken, you don't think Kraken has significant assets? Of course they do. Coinbase, we know Coinbase has one of the largest wallets. Not only that, not only the company Coinbase has significant wallet size, but they also hold the assets, right? And not your keys, not your crypto. They hold the assets of tons of people and organizations. The U.S. government has massive amounts of Bitcoin in Coinbase wallets. Even as the U.S. government sometimes tries to, regulate or certain things, like they say silly things about Coinbase. At the same time, they have their Bitcoin in Coinbase wallets, which technically means Coinbase's wallets, not your keys, not your crypto, right? I'm not saying Brian Armstrong is going to rug pull the U.S. government, but it's not in the hands of the U.S. government if it's in the wallets of Coinbase. Maybe somebody else gets access to them and disappears, right? Who knows? I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it is a very, even that there's an even slight probability, but the probability exists, right? It's never 0 and it's never 100. It's always somewhere in between. So yeah, when you consider that crypto is already owned largely, like Bitcoin is largely owned by massive whales, governments, banks, central banks, financial institutions, huge companies, massive individual whales. Litecoin is still not owned largely or mostly by whales and banks and governments. Yes, there's a lot of whales who do own a bunch. Grayscale just bought whatever it was, 9 Bitcoin or something like that worth of Litecoin recently. Yay, I think they got like 10,000. They bought like 10,000 Litecoin, something like that, or 9,000 Litecoin, which is at the time was like 9 or 10 Bitcoin. That was like a week or two ago. And I've been saying for weeks and months, watch, the smart money is going to be making the move first before all the retail catches up. And I've been saying it when it was down to $60 or whatever during the summer. And, that area, $50, $60, whatever it was. Watch, you're going to see some smart money come in and buy a bunch. It's going to freak everybody out when it shoots up in value a little bit. And sure enough, that's what we saw. And you saw it had a nice spike up to like $100+, came back down because people were selling off, taking their profits, and it's doing very well. It's trading very nicely, but you can still get 1,000 Litecoin per Bitcoin, and it's not largely high whale. Also, ADA, Cardano, a very, very well decentralized currency. Again, not mostly in the hands of whales and banks and governments and financial institutions and central banks. It is largely in the hands of retail holders, like the vast majority of it, okay? Yes, it has gone up significantly. It's more than doubled in price since recently. And you could say the same about XRP. It has more than doubled in price recently, right? Almost tripled in price, whatever. Like, some coins are very well distributed, are very liquid, and are still very available to retail traders, and they have significant history. Do I trade Solana? Yeah, I love Solana. Solana is awesome. It's a wonderful, centralized cryptocurrency. It's not decentralized, right? It is created and owned by venture capitalists. I have no problem with that. I think that's perfectly fine, perfectly legitimate. Does that mean that it's a bad coin that is venture capital backed? No, it doesn't mean it's a bad coin that's venture capital backed. I mean, freaking Ethereum is owned mostly by whales. Okay, Ethereum Foundation has a bunch. Obviously, Vitalik has a bunch. These are whales. What's the difference between a whale and a venture capital fund? What's the difference between a foundation that has an enormous amount of the? Who has the most amount of Ethereum anyway? Central banks, governments, huge banks, massive whales. They are, in many cases, venture capital funds that own Ethereum. By the way, more and more you see, right, the Ethereum ETF having a lot of inflows of money, just like the Bitcoin ETFs, right? Personally, I don't like the ETFs. I think they're bad for crypto. Why? Because they drive the prices up by artificially, by selling artificial things like derivatives to people, synthetic products. Pardon my cough. Synthetic derivatives to people who want exposure to Bitcoin. Now, in some cases, I understand it's useful because, like, if you're in the UK, you can't actually buy in your pension fund Bitcoin or Ethereum. You can't even buy any form of it other than ETFs. Okay. So in that sense, it is useful, right? But generally speaking, ETFs are not great for the asset. First of all, it doesn't always do what people expect, right? People for years in crypto were begging for ETFs. It'll bring in institutional money, and that's great for the price. What does great for the price mean? Again, 8 billion people, most of whom don't have any assets in Bitcoin, are scrapping over 1% of the asset. 1%. Right? We're talking, that's all there is left for them to scrap over. Like, that's what they're scrapping. Yes, there's 5% left to be mined, 5.5%, whatever, left to be mined. Do you think that retail buyers are going to be buying most of that 5.5% left to be mined? No, it's going to be bought by whales. It's going to be bought by banks. It's going to be bought by whoever the miners sell it to. They're going to sell to the people paying them the biggest premium. Exchanges are generally not going to pay them the biggest premium. Central banks who have infinite money printers, they can. Governments can. Big banks can. Massive whales very often can. They're going to buy them directly from the miners and keep them out of the hands of retail traders. And whatever thin slices of Bitcoin is released onto the market is going to be released onto the market when the returns are high. Prices are high because they follow the returns up. And they want to take some profits. And then they're going to dump the price by doing that because they're going to make sure the returns are dropping and the price is going to follow. And then people are going to start panicking and selling off their own Bitcoins. And as the price is dropping, the whales are just going to sit back and watch as these stacks of liquidity become more and more available. And then when the price has fallen enough, they're going to buy them all back at a discount while the retail market is in panic mode and too scared to buy anything. This happens every time. All the time, right? That's what happens in distributions and mean reversions constantly. We see it constantly intraday. You think that doesn't happen in larger cycles? Which again, is why this whole notion of a bull run and a bear market is just buzzwords to keep people like distracted from what's really happening. All a bull run is a high time frame, extended period of time of buy pressure. It doesn't mean there's not pullbacks, right? From 2013 to 2015, there was a 65% pullback, even more, like 80% pullback. From like $1,200 in 2013 down to like $167 in 2018. It's like $1,000 drop and more, $1,100 drop on an asset that from after that point, 2015, it shot up from like $167 all the way up to 20 grand. But there were pullbacks, there were pumps and dumps the whole way on that 2013 to 2015, right? It didn't just go flat line. Yeah, it looked flat when you zoom out, but it wasn't flat. It was going like this the whole way down, right? So that is what you're likely to see every single time, especially on volatile assets like crypto. So in terms of expectations of where this thing could go, could Bitcoin go to 150K? Yeah, it could easily go to 150K. Could it go to 500,000? Sure, there are probabilities. Does it mean that I expect it to go to 500,000 during this bull run? Somebody's thinking something about me and making me sneeze. I'm kidding, but that's like a superstitious thing, and I'm not superstitious, so I like to joke about it. Anyway, I'm gonna have to wrap this up soon, but the probabilities to the upside or the downside on the macro level, they're very large. They're very significant. It doesn't matter what asset you're talking about, right? The returns in a volatile asset class like crypto, they're always going to be significant. As an intraday low time frame trader, my interest is not in what's it going to do 6 months from now, a year from now. I don't care what's going to be at. I really don't care. And frankly, I want the prices to be cheaper, always. I don't care if it goes up because I want to stack more. Let it go up when I'm sick of trading in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, who knows, right? Let it go down. Let it go, trade at practically nothing. Let me stack up more and more and more and more and more. Let the whales get scared of it and get out of it. That's not going to happen, right? Anybody who has hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin, they're not going to sell them. Okay, the only people who are going to sell them, if the price drops significantly, are retail traders. We see it time and time again. Retail traders get scared, they sell. The only time huge accounts sell any of their bags is when they want to take some profits at highs and then buy back more when they're at discount prices. And how do they know when they're discount prices? Because they use the same VEPS information, the same leading information that we use at Alpha Trading. Anyway, guys, if you want to learn, again, how to trade, the VEPS, the leading information, just go to our Discord, alphatradinghq.com/Discord. Again, go to the request support channel, click the create ticket button, and just type, I want my free volatility starter kit. And we'll get you the free volatility starter pack as long as you type in your TradingView username. If you don't include the TradingView username in the ticket, we don't know to whom to grant the access, right? We need to know your TradingView username. And just your username. That's, nothing else, obviously. That's it. Again, live streams. We do live streams at Alpha Trading. My fellow co-founders and I, Bilbo, loves to do that. He will be on doing that again today, starting at 9 a.m. U.S. Eastern time, and they're typically Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. U.S. Eastern time. Sometimes we do weekends, very rarely. We might start doing weekends more. We'll see. But last weekend we did, and it was great. On Saturday, anyway. Yeah, that's, so we cover like pre-market open. We cover market open. We cover a little bit after market open because that first hour after market open is really good for trading and stuff. And yeah, that's going to do it for now, guys. Thanks again for joining, and I hope you all got something out of this. If you did, click the like and subscribe and comment and all that stuff because you know the reasons, right? This is YouTube. I shouldn't have to explain that. That's it for now, folks. So yeah, happy trading. Yeah, cheers.